Well, yesterday was certainly a fun day on Microsoft main campus in Redmond, Washington. A group calling themselves the Worker Intifada declared that they would occupy Microsoft main campus as long as it takes for Microsoft to cut ties with the murderous Zionists. That's their quote. And the event that they started lasted only a couple of hours, actually. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was about 4.5 hours. By about 3:30 in the afternoon, they had already given up. They've put out a couple of more statements since this event. I have spoken to multiple sources inside Microsoft. I have a bunch of updates. Yes, at least one person is already getting fired over this. I'm going to read to you my coverage from last night as the event was unfolding, and then I've got a whole bunch of updates for you. Okay, first of all, update as of 8 p.m. Eastern last night. That was Tuesday, August 19th. According to multiple reports, the Worker Intifada, which stated they would continue to occupy Microsoft property, quote, until their demands are met, ended their occupation at roughly 3 or 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. This occurred immediately after the Intifada was informed that if they continue their occupation, they would be subject to arrest because they were officially trespassing. All right. So here's the original report that came out just a few hours before that. It all happened so fast. By the time I got an article out, and I got the article out within 2 hours of the event beginning, the event was almost over. It was crazy. A group of Microsoft employees have launched what they are calling a Worker Intifada at Microsoft main campus in Redmond, Washington. The Intifada group is demanding that Microsoft cut all ties with Israel and pay reparations to the government of Gaza, specifically to Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, an amount to be decided later by Hamas. Until Microsoft meets those demands, the Intifada is threatening to continue to occupy the Microsoft property. And here's a picture. I've got credit links so you can go check out the videos where I pulled these pictures from all the people who were on the scene grabbing all this stuff, because I am nowhere near Microsoft main campus right now. The Worker Intifada made the following statement yesterday, quote, "We will not be cogs in the Israeli genocidal machine. A call for a worker intifada." In a company-wide email to workers in leadership, Microsoft worker Julius Shan shared reminders of the company's complicity and announced the establishment of a liberated zone at the martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza. Julius also called on fellow workers to join the global worker Intifada by escalating against Microsoft everywhere until all demands from the liberated zone are met. And you can read the full declaration from the liberated zone at noah.cc/worker intifada. Okay. Now, this Worker Intifada liberated zone is taking place at what is known as Microsoft East Campus Plaza, which this Intifada group has given the name Martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza. Now, just so, because I know a lot of you haven't actually been here, and I used to work in multiple buildings that are on this map. Here's the map. If you're watching the video version, I'm going to go through this for you so you know exactly what's happening here. I will link to the article wherever you're getting this, so if you're listening to the podcast, you can follow along as well. So this is Microsoft main campus, or part of Microsoft main campus. You can see there that Microsoft East Campus Plaza is set aside. It has a little dot on it. It's not too far from the Microsoft cricket field, which did not exist when I worked there. That was a long time ago. But East Campus Plaza, what's really interesting about this from the nerd point of view is these buildings on this screen is where some of the most amazing pieces of history have occurred relating to Microsoft's contribution to software. If you go directly north of East Campus Plaza, you'll find two buildings up there that have a lot of significance. Building 16 is near the top there, directly north of East Campus Plaza. That's where Microsoft Office lived for several years. Just north and to the left there, to the west, northwest of that building, you'll find what was known as Building 25, which is where Windows Media was done, and also where Microsoft's first DRM implementation was put into place. And of course, you've got on this screen, you've got buildings where Windows development was done and all sorts of stuff. So this is really the heart of Microsoft, right? I mean, this is all happening right up in it. And that's all within a short walk. I mean, it's a very walking friendly campus. There's shuttles and people walking around all over the place. There have been, as of my initial reporting, there were some police and Microsoft security presence at the Intifada liberated zone, but no serious events apparently occurred at all. Here's a picture of the Redmond Police Department informing some of the Intifada organizers wearing shirts with the Microsoft logo and the words genocide written on it. So that's a good way to make sure your boss is happy with you. Declare that your boss is committing genocide. I found that when I say, hey, boss, you're a genocidal lunatic and I demand that you stop being a genocidal jerk, I find that they love me after that, and I definitely have a long career in that company. What are these people thinking? So that at that point, the Redmond Police Department was exactly at that moment that we have pictured there, informing them that they were officially trespassed, meaning that Microsoft had been in contact, Microsoft Security had been in contact with the Redmond Police Department, and that, yes, those trespassing and vandalizing the company property, which they were doing, could be subject to arrest. That's what was being stated right there. If they stayed and they kept doing it, they were pretty likely to be arrested at that point. The worker, and very shortly after that, they all decided to leave. The worker Intifada, in their statements, both written and verbal, repeatedly make some known false statements regarding all sorts of things happening in and around Gaza, Israel, etc., and multiple blood libel statements regarding Israel. And they repeatedly use phrases common among anti-Jewish and anti-Israeli terrorist groups like Hamas. I've included here some of the images from the statements that were made by this Microsoft worker Intifada. In the article, I included them without comment, mostly just for historical preservation. I wanted to make sure that these were recorded somewhere, not on their accounts, not on their website. I didn't want them to be able to take it down and them to just disappear. We will not be cogs in the Israeli genocidal machine. So that's their declaration there. But I wanted to read a couple little tidbits here. As current and former Microsoft workers and community members of conscience are establishing a liberated zone on the grounds of the martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza, formerly known as Microsoft East Campus Plaza in Redmond. In establishing the liberated zone, we are liberating our workplace and reclaiming our labor by refusing to do any work that could contribute to genocide and other crimes against humanity in Palestine. We are reminded of the beloved martyred journalist Anas al-Sharif's last words in his will. Okay, moving past that, I just don't care. The technical backbone of the Israeli genocidal machine. For 34 years, Microsoft has embedded itself in the economy of apartheid and genocide in Israel. It accomplished this through acquisitions of Israeli cybersecurity and defense firms, endless contracts with the Israeli military, prison service, government, and weapons manufacturers. Microsoft's cloud and AI technology powers Israel's campaign of blackmail, kidnapping, massacre, and maiming. Its executives choose to remain complicit and line their pockets at the expense of the Palestinian people and their fundamental human rights. Microsoft executives, we are here until our demands are met. Make no mistake, our actions will continue as long as Microsoft is invested in the economy of occupation and genocide in any capacity. We will make it costly to continue to do business with the murderous Zionist regime. We will show up to escalate, confront, and disrupt in every place, at every moment, announced and unannounced. When our voices are silenced, we will find ways to speak that cannot be ignored. I'm pretty sure they're threatening violence against Microsoft employees and executives here. I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing. I can't think of any other way to interpret this. Our movement will not stop. I mean, Intifada. So when Hamas and Fatah and other groups use the phrase Intifada, they use it accompanied with declarations of kill all the Jews. I mean, the very founding government documents of Hamas, which is the elected government political party of the government of Gaza, and Fatah over in the West Bank, but the literal founding documents of Hamas declare that all Jews must be murdered, that you need to find them wherever they're hiding and kill them. If they're under a rock, you need to kill them. Lift up the rock and kill the Jew. Maybe there's a Jew hiding behind a tree. Go look behind the tree, because the tree hates Jews. Trees hate Jews, so trees will tell you when there's a Jew back there. They'll say, "Hey, come and kill this Jew," and then you're supposed to go kill the Jew. That's their government policy, right? It's a government policy. And it doesn't matter if you like that or dislike that, or like or dislike that I'm saying that. It's still their government policy. And they tie that policy directly into Intifada. The Intifada currently is being pushed, and the messaging around it on the TV and the radio, in newsprint inside Gaza, is all pushing go kill the Jews. It's been documented every which way from Sunday thousands and thousands of times. They proudly say it. It's not like it's a hidden thing. It's not even a controversial thing over there. It's just what they are pushing, right? And so when an organization here takes up the same exact language, says we're going to do an intifada, we're going to do everything we can, announced and unannounced, we will find ways to speak that cannot be ignored. We will not stop. We will not rest. I'm like, we will continue to escalate. I assume that their intention is violence, is murder. Their point is that they are going to escalate until they kill people. That's what they're saying here. I can't think of any other way to interpret that. They made multiple demands. The first and biggest one was that they cut ties with Israel, and they didn't just mean a little bit. We demand that Microsoft fully and perpetually divest from Israel's economy of occupation, apartheid, and genocide. Number one, end all sales, contracts, deals, and services to all Israeli entities, and remove existing access to Microsoft products from all Israeli entities. So one of their demands is that they no longer allow Israeli citizens or anyone who does business with Israel to use Windows, to run things on an Azure cloud, any of these things, right? To use Microsoft Office, right? Their license must be revoked. It's crazy. Number two, close all Microsoft Israel offices, data centers, and end the employment of any person who has served in the Israeli military. So if someone if someone has at some point served in the IDF, meaning they're an Israeli citizen, because all Israeli citizens serve in the IDF. That's, at least for the most part, depending on their age, that's how that works. So they're saying that Microsoft cannot employ anyone from Israel or who has ever lived in Israel for any length of time must be fired. And all the Microsoft offices, which there are many in Israel, must be closed. And the data centers, which there are multiple, must be closed. I mean, it's extreme. I mean, these are really, really extreme demands. I mean, they're demanding that Microsoft basically lose billions of dollars here. Billions. Also, they demand that Microsoft pay reparations to the Palestinians. This is not a joke. I'm going to read this exact quote, and you tell me what this means. We demand that Microsoft pays reparations to the Palestinian people for active participation in their occupation and genocide. Palestinians must decide what form of reparations these should take and must be involved at every stage of planning and implementation of reparations. Microsoft must provide Palestinians guarantees of non-recurrence in acknowledging the harm they have caused to the Palestinian people. Okay, now, there's only one government that they're referring to here. It's the government of Gaza. Specifically, they're referring to the government of Gaza, which the people of Palestine elected the political party Hamas to run the government of Gaza. So what this Microsoft Intifada is saying is that Microsoft must go to Hamas, which the United States has declared to be a terrorist organization. They're officially a terrorist organization. But Microsoft, which is an American company, must go to a officially designated terrorist organization and say, we're so sorry that someone you don't like used Microsoft software. Whatever amount of money you want from us, just tell us and we'll give it to you. Any amount at all. And we will never do business with dirty, dirty Jews again. That's essentially for practical purposes, what the Microsoft Intifada is demanding. It's insane. There's no way Microsoft's going to agree to that. That's crazy. And they demand the end of the discrimination against workers. Okay, we demand that Microsoft ends its discrimination against Palestinian, Arab, Muslim, and pro-Palestine workers. Number one, provide amnesty for workers involved in Palestinian amnesty, including in the liberated zone. Okay, so basically they're saying you must provide amnesty for all the people who were involved in this intifada, right? In this kind of fake intifada thing where they're occupying Microsoft campus. So you have to say that we're not going to get in trouble for what we're doing right now. That's what they're saying here. There also was a lady who was fired from Microsoft back in April because during an event where Microsoft executives, including the Microsoft CEO, were speaking, she stood up at the event and just started screaming, most of the time unintelligibly, about how mean and evil Israel is, right? And she was fired from her job because she was a Microsoft employee. And you don't scream at your CEO who's giving a presentation and expect to still have a job. So they're providing amnesty for her, assumedly, and anyone who was involved in this intifada. Number two, retract all disciplinary measures and reinstate fired workers, here we go, who were retaliated against for Palestinian advocacy. They're specifically talking about that lady back in April. Number three, protect all workers involved in Palestinian advocacy from harm and harassment in the workplace. So anyone who's doing this liberated zone stuff can't be disparaged, or no one can make fun of them in the workplace, even though they're highly make-fun-ofable people. And number four, reinstate UNRWA USA to the employee giving portal. Now, this is kind of an interesting one. So the UNRWA was found to be working very closely with terrorists inside of Gaza. In fact, UNRWA people were funneling stuff for terrorists. UNRWA people were actually holding hostages inside of Gaza. And so Microsoft has this thing called the Employee Giving Portal, where they can encourage people to donate to charitable organizations. And in many cases, Microsoft will even match charitable donations to many organizations. Microsoft removed the UNRWA when it was realized that the the UNRWA was using their facilities to launch terrorist attacks, holding hostages, withholding food from people who actually needed food, funneling. I mean, they were basically an arm of Hamas. They were a terrorist organization. And so Microsoft removed that from the employee giving portal. The Microsoft Workers Intifada group wants to be able to give them money again with matching Microsoft funds. Crazy. All right. So there have been a couple of statements since then. I'm going to read those statements real quick, and then I've got a little bit of an update from sources with inside Microsoft. This is from No Azure for Apartheid. This is their Worker Intifada account over on X. Earlier this afternoon, Microsoft workers, this is from late last night. This is probably posted, late in the evening. Earlier this afternoon, Microsoft workers, former workers, Seattle community members, and pro-Palestinian protesters arrived at Microsoft's East Campus Plaza to establish a liberated zone encampment, renaming the plaza to the Martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza. That name is not taken. It's not going to continue to be used. At the Martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza, people peacefully set up tents, art to reflect the suffering of Palestinians. Oh, good. I'm glad they had art. And a negotiation table with a large banner that read, Microsoft execs come to the table. Let me see if I can show you this here. So Microsoft employees, I'm gonna play some of this here. This video was posted. There we go. They're dragging in basically office furniture and patio furniture from around the nearby campus and putting it there. And this is notice that they're using a lot of the bloody red hand as well. And just to be clear, the bloody red hand is a fairly violent symbol. It's not about Palestinian liberation. It's about killing Jews. So the bloody red hand was taken when a Jew was lynched, and Palestinian had his hands covered in the Jew's blood, and he held his hands up, his bloody red hands, to celebrate that he had killed that Jew, that they had lynched a Jew, and that has since been taken and used repeatedly as a symbol around a lot of the Intifada in Gaza movement, because the point is killing all the Jews. The point is not, establishing government in Gaza, because they already have that. The point is not to make sure Israel is fully out of Gaza. They already had that. The point is to kill all the Jews, and so the bloody red hand represents the blood of Jews on the hands of Hamas and Gaza and the anti-Jewish people here, right? So it's interesting that they're really pushing that imagery here in the Intifada at Microsoft. It kind of just reinforces the point of this is violence. Their statement continues. Many Microsoft workers on their lunch breaks walked through the plaza, engaging with protesters, taking photos, and asking questions about the significance of the event. In the same area, workers and community members adorned the space with various artistic expressions, including shrouds to symbolize the martyrs of Gaza, a large plate that reads, Stop Starving Gaza, and a banner that displays the plaza's new name with the symbol of Handala, a prominent Palestinian symbol depicting the suffering and resilience of the Palestinian people. It should also be noted that martyr is a commonly used concept and word throughout the people of Gaza and the people involved in Hamas. But part of being a martyr is that you die while trying to kill Jews, and to a lesser extent Christians also. And so the important thing of being a martyr is that you take out Jews on the way to dying, right? That's how you earn your spot in heaven with all the virgins that you get to have in your tent. And then they go on a few hours later, they post another update Once again, the enablers of genocide and apartheid choose to criminalize those that oppose the bombing of Palestinians rather than the war criminals, ethically cleansing and starving our people in Palestine, while Microsoft workers, former workers, and community members may have been forced to disperse from the liberated zone on the martyred Palestinian Children's Plaza to protect everyone's safety from Microsoft and state violence. We promise this will not be the end of escalations against Microsoft and its genocide profiteering executives until they fully meet the demands laid forth as part of the worker intifada. And then the rest of this is all in caps, so assuming I'm shouting it. The more Microsoft tries to silence us, the louder we will be. Cut ties with Israel now. Stop powering genocide. No Azure for apartheid. No tech for genocide. Digital arms embargo now. Okay, so they're going to escalate. They're promising that they're going to escalate. Of course, they gave up really, really, really fast. They gave up really fast, and they are talking about trying to avoid. They were forced to disperse to protect everyone's safety from Microsoft and state violence. So they're saying that Microsoft was going to be violent with them, so they were forced to disperse. My understanding is that they were informed that they were officially trespassing, and that if they stayed and continued to vandalize the property, that they could be arrested. They probably would be arrested, because that's how. That's how the law works. Regardless of what your cause is, that's just how the law works. All right, so where's those pictures at? Let me bring those pictures up. So the people that organized this, I've heard from multiple sources inside Microsoft regarding this. Two of the sources didn't have a whole lot interesting to tell me, but the third one did. So two of the sources let me know that they had seen the events, and one of the sources says that yes, in their group. In Microsoft, so in their department, one of the people involved in the event did work in that group, in that department, but he didn't know what was going to happen to that person. That person just was clearly taking a day off and going down to the liberated zone and doing stuff down there. They didn't know what was going to happen there. But the third person I spoke to has told me that as of this morning, and it is currently very, very early. So I'm recording this at roughly 9 a.m. Eastern time. So it's 8, 7, 6 a.m. over on the West Coast. But I've been told that as of this morning, thank heavens for early risers, as of this morning, that one of the individuals involved in this event is being fired, or has been fired, or will be fired today. That's a thing that's happening right now. It's early enough that my guess is they're probably not into the office yet. Most Microsoft employees don't get in all that early. It's more of an 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock roll into work sort of place. And so, but one of the persons is being fired for their involvement, specifically because they vandalized Microsoft company property, trespassed, and made statements that were disparaging of Microsoft executives, and that were damaging to Microsoft business. And so that person is being fired. I do not have a name for who that person is yet. I am sure that as the day goes on, we will probably get that name. So Microsoft is taking those actions. Now, all of this being said, I found the response from Microsoft to be calm. They really didn't do much. They just basically called the police and they said, hey, you know what? These people are trespassing. Most of the people involved were not Microsoft employees. There were Microsoft employees organizing it. In some cases, it looks like some of those organizing it were not Microsoft employees at all, but some were. And many of the people that were holding signs were not Microsoft employees. Some were. And at least one is being fired because of it, at least one. But it looks like a lot of groups from the outside were involved in making this happen. Now, it's interesting because this appears to be somewhat coordinated. There were several events like this happening just yesterday, August 19th, saw multiple events in Texas and a couple other locations around the country where people were holding I'm going to occupy this space events in the name of Hamas, the terrorists of Gaza, etc., because we're going to have an intifada, meaning we're going to hold an event to do something against the Jews and against Israel, right? So they held multiple such events around the country. Some of them escalated and got a little more crazy. I believe an event in Houston, Texas resulted in 20-something odd arrests. It became much more of a big deal. All of which suggests a bit more of a coordinated outside of Microsoft effort to do all of this. Whether there's funding involved, I'm not sure. But clearly an effort to organize this occurs outside of Microsoft. But the people within Microsoft really wanted to make this a Microsoft specific thing. The messaging around no Azure for Israel was a very specific thing to just this Microsoft event. We'll see as the day goes on who gets fired, what sort of statement Microsoft's made. I haven't seen an official statement yet. I'm sure they're working on one. I'm sure we will see one today of some kind, right? It might be short. It might be quiet and behind, kind of halfway behind the scenes, but we'll see some sort of a statement of some kind today. Even if it's just, we stand for people and we like people and stop trespassing on our property or something like that, right? And we will see if this Intifada Microsoft workers group actually does what they're saying, because they're saying they're going to escalate. They're implying that they're going to get really violent and murder people. That's what they're implying. Now, considering that they were met with an extremely limited amount of resistance, as in like 2 police officers that came and calmly talked to them and to let them know what Microsoft told them and then walked away. That was scary enough to them that they shut everything down and ran. So I don't know. I don't know if they're actually going to follow through on anything really big here, because they basically caved at the very first sign of the most minimal amount of opposition. Like it would be, I can't think of opposition that could have been created to this Intifada Occupy Microsoft main campus event that could have been less than what was presented to them, right? I mean, it's the equivalent of a car approaching a speed bump, freaking out, and then exploding because it's too terrified to go over the speed bump, right? I mean, it's pretty minimal opposition here. So we'll see what happens. Thank you to all the Lunduke Journal subscribers for allowing me to do this sort of coverage. And it's funny because this is the sort of thing I wouldn't normally cover, but it's Microsoft. It's Microsoft main campus. They're telling people to, Microsoft has to revoke Windows licenses and Azure support and all sorts of things. And so now it becomes a computer industry topic. But normally I wouldn't cover, a bunch of crazy wackadoodles, occupying a corporate office, right? But if it's, if it's computer industry, we should cover it because it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm also expecting today and tomorrow to see a really significant response of tech industry people, the kind of the leftists of open source and the leftists of big tech being angry at Microsoft shutting down this Intifada because they'll view it as a little too pro-Jew and a little too pro-Israel. And anything that's pro-Jew or pro-Israel, the left absolutely, the extreme leftists, it makes them go crazy. It makes them go crazy. Just watch over on Mastodon and all the other kind of, and Blue Sky and all the very left-leaning kind of hangout areas. They're going to freak out and yell about it. I mean, some of them have started already, but it's going to ramp up through the day, especially after it comes out of who gets fired. That's going to be a big deal. That's just going to cause people to just start screaming about things. But thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers, lunduke.com. There you can listen and watch and read, and all the links are there. It's fantastic. You love those links. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across this vast and glorious intertube, I do declare, end broadcast.